So it's time to nip this in the bud. I know a lot of you guys have been wondering, okay, what is the catch to opening your third eye? Is it really something that I want to do? Is it dangerous? Is it evil? Is it this? Is it that? So many questions you guys have about the third eye. So I'm here to express even more about the third eye, how it relates to me in my own journey, and is it really dangerous or not? So I'm gonna hopefully give you guys some insight that you've been needing. And then, like always, if you have any more questions, feel free to leave comments below and I will make another video and possibly go live if I need to, so you guys can ask me more questions. But the real dangers of opening your third eye, I actually have a video of the real dangers of Kundalini Awakening if you guys want to check that out. But the real dangers of opening your third eye. Let's touch a little bit of what the opening your third eye consists of. So for those of you who don't know, your third eye is your pineal gland. And basically what that has to do is your intuition, how you perceive the world, your sixth sense, and your perception and your conscious level as you are in right now in your life. Now, someone who has their third eye closed can kind of be seen as having a very limiting perspective of life. Maybe they don't believe in the spiritual realm. Maybe they don't believe that you can sense energy. Maybe they don't believe that you have six senses or more senses than the five that we know. Maybe they don't believe in ghosts or like the occults or healing arts, things of that nature. So that is a lot of times how you can tell someone doesn't really have their third eye open. Now, when someone's third eye is open, it's basically everything I list, but they basically believe or have experienced these things in their own life or their own journey. Meaning, basically, a lot of people can report, including myself, seeing spiritual beings or just becoming very spiritual when at one point you didn't even have a belief or you weren't sure what you believed in, but you started like dabbling in crystals and different things like that. Or you just become very obsessed about researching the third eye or spiritual awakening or auras, things like that. Now, the real dangers is that there are no real dangers. And that's crazy because a lot of you guys are expecting me to say like, oh, you can like, I don't know, like die, like it's an acid trip or something that went bad. But I do feel like it has a lot to do about your belief system. Now, a lot of times what's happening when you're going through a spiritual awakening or opening your third eye is your perception of life is basically broadening. And when that happens, you're basically challenged to let go of this limiting perspective that you've held so tightly on. And depending on how attached you are to your belief system right now is how hard your spiritual awakening or your third eye opening is going to be. Your third eye awakening or opening can be a smooth process or it can be hard. Meaning, the more you want to, let's say, when you open your third eye, you start to realize certain truths of the world and our reality and how it works. Some people might go in denial. They might see their third eye opening as something that is BS or something that cannot be trusted or just something that's scary. Basically, they try to write it off as something bad because they don't want to believe what they're seeing. Now, the dangers of third eye can seem dangerous because, again, it has a lot to do about your beliefs and what you've been taught. A lot of times, since you're opening your third eye, it's going to be showing you things that you never felt like existed. And depending on how your religious background had you grow up thinking about the unknown, or how your parents or whoever, or you maybe just a scary person, this can kind of describe how your awakening or your third eye opening is going to be. If you're a person that's more open to the unknown, it can be kind of a more smooth transition. But like a lot of us, and especially in Western culture, we are taught to think of things like the spiritual realm or psychic abilities or the unknown as stuff that is bad or evil. So a lot of us do take opening the third eye as bad. Especially when it happens to us personally, we start thinking that we're the crazy ones, that like, oh, where did we go wrong? Because you're going to start thinking differently. And a lot of times, if everyone else around you is still in a very limited way of thinking, you're going to feel like the crazy one, or like you're going crazy, or that you've completely lost your mind, when really you're becoming sane. You're dropping a bunch of false beliefs that was given to you. And that is a sense of danger. If you think of human beings and how we work psychologically, I know I read a lot of places that human beings at one point, we had to hunt and fend for ourselves and things like that. But now we think danger is the silliest things. We get anxiety over the silliest things. And a lot of times we perceive our comfort zone being as anytime our comfort zone is being threatened by a new perspective or a new ability or things that we may have not experienced before, we start thinking that, oh, it's bad, oh, it's unsafe, and we start freaking out, even if it's not a real threat. And I feel like a lot of times the third eye awakening can feel exactly like that, especially something, for example, that I deal with on a daily basis is struggling with the fact that I'm a psychic medium. Now that I've opened my third eye, I realize my gifts, what I have going on, and how sensitive I am to the spiritual realm. And sometimes it makes me uneasy because everyone's always feeding you this fear belief, movies, people around you, religion, this fear belief of like demonic things or evilness. Whatever the case may be, it's like they make you afraid of the spiritual realm or our own abilities, and really is here to help us, not hinder us. And I'm always going to say that all these psychic abilities, the spiritual realm, our guidance that we get, the cosmos, the infinite Akashic records, all this is there to help us, not hinder us. And I'm a firm believer that if these things are here, it's meant for us to use it. It's not something that's like, I think it's very limiting to just place things in a good and bad category. That is what I feel. People who have not opened their third eye still pretty much label things as good and bad. So I guess that's a good way to know that you're on a good track of opening your third eye, when you figured out that good and bad doesn't exist, only duality. But what I'm trying to get to, you guys. Okay, so the real dangers are, there is no really real big dangers. It's more psychological. It's more of your perception being threatened, and it's more so of how open are you going to be to the process and allowing it to unfold as it should. Now, mind you, it is a very scary process, and it can be a very scary process because what we've been taught is very dear to us. We want to believe in the people who have taught us our whole life that things are this way, and it's just easier to just believe things that are force-fed to us, because it takes the work off of ourselves to discovering things and what they truly are. So it's really scary to let go of, like, when you're opening your third eye, you might have to move away from these people who have taught you your whole life that things are a certain way, and that's the scary part. That's the danger that we're experiencing. Again, this is all the dangers. They're all psychological. It's all how much you can handle in your journey. Like a lot, and I feel like third eye awakening or opening can happen consistently. Once you open it, it's like a thing that happens all the time. Meaning there isn't just one third eye opening and you leave it at that. It's kind of like you start this journey of being a truth seeker, and then it keeps expanding throughout a lifelong journey. And I do still have periods of time where I'm scared because I have little mini episodes of third eye awakenings on top of the one I initially had, because we're constantly changing as human beings. I feel like when you open your third eye, you're just becoming conscious of your thoughts, of your existence, of your reality. And after that, you kind of understand that, okay, we're infinite beings. We're constantly changing. And there's so much out there that we don't understand. And I think the whole point is to understand how much we don't understand, and kind of accept the journey in itself. But until then, it will be considered as this fear-based thing to open your third eye, when really we should kind of be viewing the third eye awakening as a part of life, because it is something that we naturally go into, and it flows open. You guys will understand when if you already had one, but basically it's a part of life. Much like life and death is the same coin, it's kind of like we need to stop thinking that psychic abilities and third eye opening is separate from one another. It's all the same coin. It's all like, just like human beings are multifaceted, we're not just this body, we're spiritual. So it's like kind of like that. We're not just the physical world senses, we are the spiritual senses. So it's like we have to start putting that world together. And I feel like we'll be less threatened if we kind of embrace that aspect of ourselves, the abilities that we have, that's our birthright, and start understanding. I feel like we can only like diminish the fear or the thought of danger once we face it head on. Kind of much like when you meet new people and you have a preconceived notion about them, but until you approach it with the open mind, you won't know. Until you check it out for yourself, you won't know. And that's the part that I leave you with, as far as like, do you want to take up the challenge to figure it out by yourself, or are you going to be scared your whole life? And to each his own. Like, some people might want to go past their initial perspective of the world. Some people have no choice. At some point you have a spontaneous opening, or maybe you've always been known to have your third eye opened. But either way, you just have to be courageous enough to endure this journey that you've been gifted. And that is my little rant of the realities of opening your third eye. To me, there are no real dangers, but it's all psychological, and it's all has to do with your attachment and to things, and to kind of much like when Buddha practiced non-attachment, or all the greatest spiritual teachers always say, death won't be as bad as it just depends on how much you're grasping to the body that you've been gifted for this time period. And really, it's much like the same thing. We're dying in life all the time, meaning we change so often. We change like seasons. Your old you create your old self dies and a new self is reborn all the time, because we go through so many cycles, so many different versions of ourselves. And much like this, this can be very similar to what we experience. So yeah, if you learn how to be non-attached to letting go and then being open to the unknown, it's a different journey. Once you practice being comfortable with that cycle of letting go, being reborn again, or letting go and experiencing newness, then this journey becomes less dangerous or scary, and it kind of teaches you before death how to accept death. It's just so crazy. It's just so hopefully I didn't get too far off topic. Hopefully I answered some questions for you guys. If you have any more, feel free to hit me up. Peace. Be dope. Be unapologetically.